If you don't like how I act, there's the door. No one's forcing you to stay," she said loudly after flirting with another guy all night in front of my coworkers. So I took her advice and walked out. So this happened last weekend. Sorry if this is long, but I need outside perspective because everyone around me is telling me different things. I've been with Eva for almost 3 years, living together for the past year. She's always been really social and flirty, which I initially found attractive. But over time, it started feeling disrespectful, especially when she'd do it right in front of me. The pattern usually goes like this. We're out somewhere, she starts getting touchy and giggly with other guys. I feel uncomfortable, and when I bring it up later, she tells me I'm being insecure and controlling. She'll say things like, "That's just how I am," or "You knew I was social when we met." I started doubting myself, thinking maybe I was being too jealous. But last Saturday was different. We went to my coworker's housewarming party. I was actually excited because I don't get to hang out with work people much, and Eva had been complaining that we never do anything fun anymore. Everything was going fine until we got to the kitchen where this bartender from her favorite spot, Nate, was helping serve drinks. The moment she saw him, it was like I disappeared. She immediately went into full flirt mode, touching his arm while laughing, leaning in close when talking, making these exaggerated expressions. At one point, she literally turned her back to me to face him completely while they talked about some inside joke from the bar. I'm standing there holding both our drinks like an idiot. When Nate walked away to help other people, I quietly asked Eva if we could talk outside. I wasn't even mad, just uncomfortable. I said something like, "Hey, I feel a little weird about how touchy you're being with Nate. Could you maybe tone it down a bit?" Her face immediately changed. She got this cold look I'd seen before and said, "Are you seriously going to start this shit here?" Her voice was starting to rise and people were starting to look, so I suggested we go somewhere private to talk. That's when she said the words that changed everything. "You know what, Adam? If you don't like how I act, there's the door. No one's forcing you to stay." She said it loud enough that my coworkers definitely heard. I felt my stomach drop through the floor, not because of the words, but because of how easily she said them. Like throwing away our entire relationship was nothing. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds and she just stared at me with this challenging look, like she was daring me to actually leave. So I did. I walked out without saying another word. Left the party, went home, and started packing. I couldn't stop shaking for hours. The weird thing is, I wasn't even angry. I was relieved. Like someone had finally given me permission to stop pretending this was normal. Eva came home around 2 a.m., probably expecting me to be asleep so we could talk about it tomorrow like always. Instead, she found me loading boxes into my truck. She immediately switched to damage control mode, saying she was drunk and didn't mean it, that I was overreacting to a stupid fight. But something had clicked for me. I told her she was right. If I didn't like how she treated me, I should leave. And I was leaving. She started crying and begging, but I was already done. I spent that night at my buddy Dylan's place and haven't been back since. The thing is, everyone's acting like I'm being dramatic. Eva's been texting me constantly, and even my mom said maybe I should work it out because relationships take compromise. But I keep thinking about how quickly she was willing to throw us away over me asking for basic respect. Am I crazy here? Is walking away after one fight too extreme? Because honestly, for the first time in months, I actually feel like I can breathe. And I'm still not sure if I really should feel this way. Edit, holy shit, this blew up. Thanks for all the support, guys. Reading these comments is making me realize a lot of things I hadn't connected before. For everyone asking, yes, I'm staying gone. Some of you called this controlling behavior, and honestly, you're right. I'm seeing the patterns now. Update 1, posted 2 weeks ago. So quick recap of the last post. Eva told me if I didn't like her flirting with other guys, I could leave. I left. She's been losing her mind ever since. The first few days were just constant calls and texts. When I didn't respond, she showed up at Dylan's place where I was staying. Dylan answered the door, and here's where his personality really came through. He's this laid-back guy who never gets confrontational, but he was not having it. "Listen, sweetheart," Dylan said in his slow Texas drawl, "Adam's not available, and honestly, after what he told me about that party, I wouldn't be either if I were him." Eva started crying on his doorstep, saying she just wanted to apologize and that I was ruining our relationship over nothing. Dylan, who I've never seen be mean to anyone, just deadpan responded, "Ma'am, you literally told him to leave if he didn't like your behavior. He simply took your advice, that's not on him." She tried to push past him into the house. I didn't even understand why she thought that would work. Dylan's a big guy, 64, and built like a linebacker, and he just stood there like a wall. "I'm gonna need you to step back now, this is getting weird." Dylan told me later, "Dude, what the hell did you put up with?" She seemed genuinely shocked that actions have consequences. Like legitimately confused that you actually left. That hit me hard. She was shocked, because she trained me so well that she never thought I'd actually do it. I started thinking about our relationship differently. How many times had she done this? Made me feel like I was overreacting, being too sensitive, asking for too much. I remembered last Christmas when she spent the entire family dinner flirting with my cousin's boyfriend. When I brought it up later, she said I was being possessive and that she was just being friendly. I ended up apologizing to her. Or 6 months ago when I found out she'd been texting her ex regularly and never mentioned it. When I asked about it, she turned it around on me for snooping through her phone. I wasn't. She left it open on the counter. I ended up feeling bad for bringing it up. Reading your comments made me realize this was a pattern. She'd push boundaries, I'd express discomfort. She'd make me feel wrong for having feelings about it, I'd back down. Rinse and repeat until I stopped bringing things up altogether. But this time was different because she miscalculated. She thought she could use her nuclear option, telling me to leave, and I'd fall in line like always. Instead, I called her bluff. The real wake-up call came when I went back to the apartment last Tuesday to get more of my stuff. I thought she was at work, but she was there waiting for me. The conversation that followed showed me exactly who I'd been living with. She started sweet. "Baby, I'm so sorry. I was drunk and stupid. You know I love you more than anything." When that didn't work, she tried guilt. "You're throwing away almost 3 years over one mistake." That's not the Adam I fell in love with. When I stayed calm and kept packing, she switched tactics. "You're being incredibly selfish right now. Do you know how hard this has been for me? I've been crying for days." She even tried to show me proof of how miserable she was, but her frustration only grew when I didn't give it so much as a glance. Finally, when nothing else worked, the mask came off. "Fine, you want to act like a child. See how you feel when you're living in some shitty studio apartment because you couldn't handle having a girlfriend who's social." That last part stuck with me. Couldn't handle having a girlfriend who's social. As if respecting your partner is some impossible standard. My mom called yesterday. Apparently Eva reached out to her, and this is where I learned something about my mother I never knew. Mom's always been diplomatic, always looking for the middle ground, but this phone call was different. "Adam, honey," she said in that careful voice she uses when she's trying not to lose her temper, "that girl called me yesterday crying about how you just disappeared and broke her heart." I started to explain, but Mom cut me off. "Let me finish. She wanted me to convince you to call her." "But Adam, in 30 years of marriage to your father, he has never once told me to leave if I don't like something. Not once. That's not how people who love you talk to you." Turns out my mom has been in Eva's corner because Eva's always been charming around family. But something about Eva's phone call set off alarm bells. She kept saying you overreacted to one little comment. But honey, telling your partner to leave isn't a little comment. That's serious. That's cruel. I've been staying at the extended stay hotel my company uses for traveling employees, even though Dylan insisted I could crash at his place until I found somewhere. It's basic but peaceful. No walking on eggshells, no analyzing every interaction for hidden meanings, no apologizing for having normal human reactions to disrespectful behavior. The thing is, I'm not angry anymore. I'm grateful. She showed me exactly how much respect she had for me and our relationship. When someone tells you to leave if you don't like how they treat you, believe them. They're telling you exactly how much they value you. Dylan just texted me. Eva's been calling him asking where I'm staying. His response was classic Dylan. Even if I knew, which I don't, I wouldn't tell you. You burned that bridge yourself, darling. Edit about the apartment, it's in her name, thankfully. I just had my stuff there. Already changed my address for everything important. Someone asked about financial stuff. We had a few shared accounts that I've already removed myself from. Netflix, Spotify, utilities were in my name, already transferred or canceled. She's about to get some surprise bills. Update 2. Posted 1 week ago. You guys are not going to believe this update. Eva has completely lost it, and the universe has served up some poetic justice that I couldn't have scripted better myself. First, the escalation. After I went radio silent, Eva apparently decided to take this public. She posted this long Facebook rant about how I abandoned her over a tiny disagreement, and how she's heartbroken that someone she loved could be so cruel and vindictive. The post was full of manipulation tactics you guys helped me recognize. She painted herself as the victim who made one small mistake and was being punished way out of proportion. She talked about how she's been struggling with depression since I left and how she never thought the person she loved most could be so cold. But here's where it gets good. Remember my coworker's party where this all started? Well, several people from that party are mutual friends with us on social media. They saw her post and were not having it. My coworker Jake was the first to comment. Jake's this quiet accountant who usually avoids drama, but he'd reached his limit. Eva, I was standing right there when you told Adam to leave if he didn't like how you were acting. You said it loud enough for half the party to hear. I'm not sure why you're surprised by the outcome. But Jake wasn't done. He followed up with, also, for someone who's heartbroken, you sure didn't seem bothered when you were flirting with Nate for 20 minutes right after Adam left. Just saying. Then Emily jumped in. Emily's this no-nonsense project manager who doesn't sugarcoat anything. Girl, everyone at that party heard what you said to him. You literally told him to go if he didn't like it. What did you expect? Also, the way you were hanging all over that bartender while your boyfriend was standing right there was uncomfortable to watch. We were all talking about it. But the absolute nuclear moment came when Nate, yes, the bartender she was flirting with, commented on her post. And this is where I found out something interesting about Nate. Turns out he's not just some random bartender. He's actually studying psychology and has zero patience for manipulative behavior. His comment was surgical. Hey Eva, I don't usually get involved in personal drama, but I feel like I need to say something here. I've been bartending for 6 years, and I've seen this pattern before. The way you act when your boyfriend isn't around at the bar versus how you act when he is, that's not healthy relationship behavior. Maybe instead of asking people to convince him to come back, you should ask yourself why he felt like he needed to leave in the first place. He continued, also, for what it's worth, every time you've complained to me about him being controlling or insecure, the examples you gave sounded like a guy asking for basic respect. That's not control, that's having standards. I wasn't even on Facebook when this happened. Dylan screenshot everything and sent it to me with a message. Bro, the internet just served Eva a reality check with a side of humble pie. This is beautiful. Apparently, Eva deleted the entire post within an hour, but not before dozens of people saw it and some shared screenshots. The damage was done. The best part, several people reached out to me privately afterward. Turns out Eva's behavior at the party wasn't a one-off. Multiple people told me they'd noticed how she treated me over the years and were glad I finally stood up for myself. Emily messaged me, Adam, I've wanted to say something for months. The way she dismisses you when you're talking or rolls her eyes when you express an opinion, it's been painful to watch. You deserve so much better. Jake, who I barely knew outside of work, sent this long message. Dude, I'm sorry I never said anything before. She acts like you're an inconvenience she has to deal with. The way she interrupts you or changes the subject when you're speaking, it's not normal. My wife actually asked me once if you guys were okay because Eva seems to actively dislike you. Even people I barely knew were reaching out with support. My coworker Lisa, who I maybe talk to twice a year, wrote, I don't know if this helps, but at the Christmas party last year, Eva spent the entire night complaining about you to anyone who would listen. She called you boring and said you were holding her back from having fun. It was really uncomfortable. But wait, it gets better. Remember how I canceled all the utilities that were in my name? Well, Eva's been living without internet for 5 days because she didn't realize I was the one paying for it. Her Netflix got cut off mid-episode of whatever she was binge watching. The electricity got turned off for 2 days before she figured out how to get it transferred to her name. She called Dylan asking for my new number because she needed to discuss practical matters. Dylan's response was perfect. Eva, if you need to discuss bills and utilities, you can email him. But maybe next time don't tell someone to leave if you're not prepared for them to actually do it. She sent this long email about how cutting off utilities was petty and financially abusive, and how I was punishing her for expressing her feelings. The lack of self-awareness is truly stunning. Here's my favorite part of her email. I just wanted to have fun at a party, and now you're trying to ruin my life over it. This is not the man I fell in love with. The Adam I knew would never be so vindictive over one mistake. Have fun at a party. That's how she describes publicly disrespecting me and then telling me to leave if I didn't like it. And apparently, not paying her bills after she told me to leave is vindictive. I didn't respond to the email. I'm done trying to make her understand how her actions affect other people. That's her work to do, not mine. My company extended my stay at the corporate housing, and I'm actually looking at apartments now. Found a nice one-bedroom place that's smaller than what I had with Eva but feels like a palace because I won't be walking on eggshells. The weird thing is, I keep waiting to feel sad or miss her, but it hasn't happened yet. Instead, I feel like I've been holding my breath for 2 years and finally get to exhale. Edit. Several people asked if I ever loved Eva. I did, or I loved who I thought she was. But looking back, I think I was in love with the idea of making it work, not with how she actually treated me. About Nate's comment, apparently Eva had been trash-talking me at the bar for months, calling me controlling and insecure. Nate got tired of hearing it, especially since her examples of my controlling behavior were things like asking her not to give her number to random guys. Final update, posted 3 days ago. This is going to be my final update on this saga. It's been 3 weeks since I walked out of that party, and my life is completely different now. I signed a lease on that one-bedroom apartment I mentioned. It's small, but it's mine, and more importantly, it's peaceful. The last interaction with Eva happened 5 days ago, and it involved more people than just us. She showed up at my new building somehow. I still don't know how she got the address. The front desk called me, saying there was a woman claiming to be my girlfriend demanding to see me. I went down to the lobby and found Eva looking like she hadn't slept in days. But she wasn't alone. She'd brought our mutual friend and my coworker, Sarah, along as some kind of mediator. Apparently, Eva had convinced Sarah that this was all a big misunderstanding, and that if someone could just help us communicate better, we could work it out. Sarah looked uncomfortable as hell. But Eva immediately started crying right at the moment she saw me and launched into this speech about how she'd learned her lesson and wanted to work on things together. She said she'd been going to therapy, I doubt that, and realized how much she'd taken me for granted. But then Sarah did something that blew my mind. She started really listening to Eva's version of events, and her project manager instincts kicked in. Wait, Sarah interrupted. You said Adam got jealous because you were being friendly to someone at a party, but you told me he was controlling and didn't want you to have male friends at all. Eva stumbled. Well, I mean, it's complicated. No, it's not, Sarah said, her voice getting that edge it gets in meetings when someone's bullshitting her. Either he doesn't want you to have male friends or he was uncomfortable with specific behavior at a specific party. Which is it? That's when Eva made her fatal mistake. She got defensive and snapped. He embarrassed me in front of everyone by making a scene about nothing. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. Making a scene? I was there, Eva. He asked to talk to you privately. You're the one who started yelling at him in front of everyone. I watched Eva realize she just contradicted her own story to someone who witnessed the actual events. Sarah turned to me with this look of dawning understanding. Jesus, Adam. She really did a number on you, didn't she? For a split second, I almost felt bad for Eva. But then she said something that reminded me exactly why I left. I know I made mistakes, Adam, but you have to admit you overreacted. Walking away without even trying to fix things was really hurtful. A real partner would have fought for the relationship. Even in her apology, she was making me the villain for having boundaries. Sarah's jaw actually dropped. Are you seriously blaming him for leaving after you told him to leave? Eva, what the hell is wrong with you? Apparently, Eva didn't have a good answer for that. I told them both calmly that we were done and asked Eva to leave. She started getting loud, asking how I could throw away our love over one stupid fight. The security guard started walking over and Sarah grabbed Eva's arm. We're leaving. Now. This is embarrassing. As they walked away, I heard Sarah say to Eva, I cannot believe you dragged me into this. You lied to me about what happened. I haven't heard from Eva since, but Dylan told me she's been posting cryptic Instagram stories about fake people and learning who really cares about you. She's also been trying to get back into her old friend group, but several people have distanced themselves after witnessing her social media meltdown and hearing the real story. The financial reality is hitting her too. Turns out she'd been relying on my contributions more than I realized. Without my half of the rent and all the utilities I was covering, she's had to move back in with her parents. Dylan heard this through mutual friends who said she's been complaining about being financially abandoned. Ever since she left my life for good, my health has completely turned around. I'm sleeping through the night again. My stomach problems disappeared. I've lost weight because I'm not stress eating constantly. My mom has been incredible through all this. She called me after Eva tried to contact her again last week. Honey, that girl called me crying, asking me to convince you to take her back. But you know what? I told her that if my son felt he needed to leave, then she should ask herself why, instead of asking everyone else to fix it for her. Apparently, my mom had been watching Eva's behavior more closely than I realized. Adam, I never said anything because I didn't want to interfere, but that girl has a mean streak. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I've started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual coffee dates and dinners. The difference is night and day. When someone respects you, conversations flow naturally. There's no analyzing every word for hidden criticism or walking on eggshells about normal preferences and boundaries. Dylan summed it up perfectly when we were having beers yesterday. Brother, you dodged a bullet. That girl would have made you miserable for the rest of your life. She was already making you miserable, you just thought that was normal. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk through the door someone else opened for you. Thanks again, Reddit. Edit. Oh, Sarah texted me this morning. I owe you an apology. I had no idea what you were dealing with. That girl is unhinged. Honestly, having coworkers who witnessed it validate my experience has been huge for my healing. The saga has reached its conclusion. Time to focus on the future.